9 o'clock Wednesday morning, September 17th. I'm Jim Check with Now Media. With me, Ian Burns, out there in the nation's capital. Look at the beautiful blue sky here in the Okanagan. Very little smoke or haze in the thing. Almost a beautiful fall. Well, it's not quite fall, but I guess typically like a fall day. How are things out there in the nation's capital?
It's a bit cloudier and a little bit cooler, but it's still pretty darn nice.
Lots to talk about today, but the big one, King Charles rolls out the red carpet in a big way. I mean, nobody can do pomp like the British, right? When they get going.
French are quite good at it.
10 years of Liberal policy put us here in this moment. Did the Bank of Canada cut enough? Canadian companies want more certainty. BC see some relief at the pumps. Government-funded media wants Poilievre to support a budget he's not even seen. Imagine that. The amount of mismanagement and abuse the Canadian taxpayer is taking is absolutely shocking. Left media keeps on spinning. Is it time to shut them out? And what's with the BC teachers? All that and a lot more on the Really Big Show. We kind of give an unfiltered look at the news of the day, and lots going on. We're going to get to the King Charles thing, but the big Canadian news, obviously, and we were expecting the Bank of Canada to cut the rate by 0.25. Me and Doug Ford calling for bigger cuts, but Bank of Canada would only do the cut to 2.5. I've got a little graph here to show you over time what's been going on here. So that the little valley there is just about basically the COVID era there. There was 0.25 there, and look at that elevator up, eh? Absolutely shocking. And some of those shots up were like a full point too, right? But the staircase down, there was a couple of 0.5 cuts though, to be fair. But then we kind of flattened off for a bit, and then another 0.25. And I would expect their target, I think they're trying to get to is 2, and that's why I said that they should just go to 2 to get it over with, so they can kind of like light a fire under this housing market that is basically just stagnant. But Bank of Canada governor says in his summary of the decision, weaker economy, less upside risk to inflation, judged that a reduction in the policy was appropriate to balance the risks. I don't know how you still have your job, Tiff, but earlier month, the agency released a gloomy jobs report. That's the really bad one, like inflation. Unemployment over 7% here in Canada, and youth unemployment just crazy. And
GDP as well. Everything is bad at the minute.
The economic indicators are just atrocious, and you look at this elevator up, and then just this staircase down, and this whining, and like it's time to put somebody else in there. Me and Doug Ford.
The words he uses are always it's always the same species of word, which is like a synonym of uncertainty and careful and things like that. It's like, oh, we're going to be cautious. It's like, you've been saying that the whole time, friend, and it hasn't really rewarded you, has it, that policy? So I think that's why people such as yourself and Doug Ford are not happy, because he seems to be such a sort of, he's like a frightened little ferret, isn't he? And he just doesn't have the boldness required for a period of crisis, which is what we're in. He's the kind of Bank of Canada governor you would want when everything's basically fine and nothing's happening. But I think he's been criticized for not being bold enough. I did find it funny though when he sometimes gets political. I don't think he even realizes if he's doing it or not, but he talked about how he's like, all this bad news. He's like, but on the good news side, the federal government has killed its counter-tariff measures against the US, and that's good. That'll bring inflation down. It's kind of like not really what the Liberals would want to hear.
Outing the gaslighting of the Liberal Party. Like, we caused it ourselves. We're going to talk about it a little bit later here. But if you look in that valley there, when we were at 0.25, the Bank of Canada rate, they said to us, TIFF said, go ahead and take that loan out. We're not going to raise the rates into the foreseeable future. And you can see in unprecedented fashion, they raised it just like 19-fold from 0.25, trapping a lot of people right now. And then a lot of those mortgages that are 5 years old now are starting to come due 2020 to 2025. And they're looking at rates that were 1% then are 4%. And just to keep in mind, every 0.25 increase on $100,000 is about $15. So $1 million mortgage, that's $150 every 0.25. So then if you take that $150 and then times that by 4, you have a pretty good number when 89% of Canadians are $200 away from insolvency. It matters. It absolutely matters. And also in that little trough there, they said no inflation, no inflation, no inflation, no inflation. Transitory, transitory, transitory. And then they just like, whoops, I think we lost Ian again. I imagine he'll be calling back in. Looks like we're having a little bit of a shaky connection there. But again, if you go back and play the tape of all the stuff they said at that time, again, I'm surprised that old Tiff Macklin hangs onto his job and and actually outs the government here again. Remember when they said that the carbon tax wasn't inflationary, but after the fact, oh yeah, it was inflationary. That letter that was sent out by all those companies a while back, they've now sent out a second letter stating that they want more certainty, and this is signed by dozens of Canadian companies, including Athabasca Oil, Pembina Pipeline, Birchcliff, Enbridge, Surge Energy, all these people. And the biggest thing businesses want when they're looking to make large capital investment, I'll go to that next slide there, Build Canada Now. This, you need to simplify regulation, commit to firm deadlines for project approvals, grow production, attract investment, and incent Indigenous groups to co-investment opportunities. And I think Carney's trying to do a little bit off the side of his desk there, where he kind of like has a lot of, I think he's taking a lot of heat from some of his Liberal members. But I think, he's trying to dance through it. That pipeline we talked about yesterday, or the LNG project yesterday, definitely a move in the right direction, right? Ian, you're no audio coming from your end, or? Can you hear us? We're not hearing you, Ian, so you're going to have to dial back in again. He's got us fighting with his headphones. Fighting with his headphones. I thought we weren't going to have any tech difficulties today, but turns out we are going to have some technical difficulties as we wait for Ian to get in. But we got David Eby praising the LNG project from in the next slide there, that project we talked about yesterday. And he said both the provincial and federal governments announced their support Monday for that massive LNG export facility in Northwest BC. The green light from BC Environment Minister and Tamara Davidson and Energy Minister Adrian Dix. It sounds like we got Ian back now. And that was Eby praising it. After years of slagging on LNG, all of a sudden David Eby's come around. And like you said yesterday, the NDP and the Liberals have seemed to have an epiphany on LNG.
Well, he sent out a press release this morning, and he's loving it. He's loving that phrase, the idea that BC is the economic engine of Canada. And now he's finally got some evidence that he can point to, which is these ports that his party and him personally have been trying to block for the last 5 years at least.
Yeah, and then some good news from the BC Interior. Grand Forks, the hot spot for cheap gas. I think yesterday it was as low as $1.17. So the BC Interior is seeing some gas relief. I think in Kelowna there we were as low as $1.33 or something. I think that was at the Costco. But Grand Forks, for some odd reason, seemed to have the cheapest gas in BC for a bit there. And I think they raised it just slightly after that. But if you go read our story on Kelowna Now, you're going to find that it looks like we may see some more easing in gas prices there as that Washington State refinery comes back online. And they start with the winter blend of fuel, which apparently is supposed to be cheaper. I don't know how that narrative goes, but yeah, it's supposedly cheaper. So we could see even some more relief. I looked in Alberta. If you don't have the Gas Buddy app, you can download that Gas Buddy app. That used to be Dan McTeague's thing. And it shows you gas prices across Canada. There's somebody telling us from PG, 134 in PG. They haven't seen that for a while, I bet, Shelley. It's been a while since we've seen those prices. I think Alberta was in the 113. I think I saw some of the cheaper gas. Let's see if we can get it under 99 cents and then really tell people about how inflation is dropping. Energy is everything. We say it on this show all the time. It's all about energy. But I'm sure the people that have gone to the gas pump there, breathing a little sigh of relief. And again, if the Liberals want to talk about all that $70, how much it matters to you, just think of the gas pump. I told my buddy from Grand Forks that he texted me and he said like he's never done an under $100 fill up on his pickup truck forever, and every one of those fill ups matters a lot, right? More than any $70 like for a family tax cut. Like people that are using pickups to go to work in that definitely are going to feel some relief at the pump.
Long overdue, yeah.
Long overdue. And there you go, gas in Alberta, northern Alberta. Well, I don't know what's going on in northern Alberta. Still $1.40. Starting to make some noise there, Pete. And Doug Ford echoing, he must be watching our show a lot. Doug Ford wants bigger cuts, though. Doug Ford's been very vocal on the cuts, right? I mean, that's the only way to stoke investment, right? Get the banks lending money for capital and get the people borrowing as well. You got to cut the rates. Like, you got to cut the rates. This slow drip is not helping anybody. And then the food professor coming out, stating the obvious. Tiff Macklin backed that up, right? A lot of the food inflation, what? Self-inflicted. We seem to do a lot. The Liberal government, that's kind of the theme of this show today, is the self-inflicted policies of the Liberal. And this is the tariffs they put on food, their counter tariffs. Self-inflicted pain again for the Canadian public with more gaslighting and lies. That's the name of the game. But here it is, the food professor. He's actually a good guy to follow on X if you're on X. And he tends to talk about food a lot, which is an important thing for most people. Remember when the Liberals told us that the carbon tax did not add to inflation. And then as soon as the carbon tax was taken off, inflation fell. Lo and behold, then they started to take credit for it. Look what we did.
It almost makes you wonder, doesn't it? What else are they telling us that isn't true?
How about this? Canada's, here's Francois Philippe Champagne. I would say he is the best photo op guy going. Like, here's another photo op from Francois Philippe Champagne. Again, always in competition, be fool of the day. He says he's going to table that budget. They used to table a couple budget updates a year. And Francois is going to now delay that till November 4th. And again, here's the rhetoric. A budget to meet this moment, a budget to build the strongest economy in the G7, a budget to build the true North strong and free. Which part of that are you buying? Anybody buying that?
None of those words mean anything.
No.
It's just completely without meaning of any kind. And if you're pleased by those few slogans, then I think you might have some problems. I think you might be diagnosable as a Liberal Party fanatic.
Didn't Mark Carney run on that we can't have Pierre Poilievre in office because all he does is throw slogans around? He has no real plan. Turns out.
And then after saying that, he proceeded to create several slogans for himself.
All it is slogans and no plan that we've seen yet. No plan. No plan. And then this is the best part here, right? Well, let's listen in on... Well, this is Pierre. I think these are mixed up. If we could play the second one first here, if that works. Because here's the media asking Pierre Poilievre if he'll support the budget. No, the next one, if we could. And then we'll go back to this one.
Before his November budget comes forward. Thank you very much.
Mr. Poilievre said yesterday that you're going to support the Liberals when there's things to support, oppose them when necessary. When it comes to the budget, where are you going to land on that? Are you going to support it?
Which budget?
The one November 4th that was announced.
Do you have a copy you can give me?
I don't.
Okay,
But
when you get one, then I'll answer your question.
are there anything that's going to make it, anything in there that would make it so that you...
Before his...
So what's with the media? They want him to support a budget he hasn't seen.
I'm not sure I can read malice in that question necessarily. Just by itself, much more about incompetence, yeah. And I would imagine that she felt pretty bad about that afterwards, and it was just too easy. And she should know better. Poilievre, he is quite quick, and he's not shy about slapping you down if he doesn't want to talk about something or if you say something stupid. So she
How can he comment on a budget he hasn't seen? Like, that's the part. Like, I mean, who's seen this budget?
Which is why the
Who's
question
seen this
should have
fictitious
been.
budget?
The question should have been, if she, and I'm sure she knows this as well as I do or you do, she just screwed up. But the question should have been, like, what are your red lines in the upcoming budget that will prevent you from supporting it? Or
That would have been an
what must be
intelligent
in that
question.
budget for you to give your support? Can you give us a list of a few things?
But there's
That would have been, and she, I'm sure, like, let's give her the benefit of the doubt. she would have probably said that if she'd had
I
her
would go.
thinking shoes on.
You're more generous than me. I go off their past history. They just want blind adherence. And this is from the interim parliamentary budget officer, Jason Jacques, says, testifying there, he says, next week we're going to see a 5-year forecast. And if the government wants to go for 12 months without producing a budget, as a citizen, I would feel a little uncomfortable. Imagine that, eh? That's from the parliamentary budget office. As somebody who works in the parliamentary budget office, I would say, that's great for us because we will occupy all the space they need to give up. It's just, they're basically saying, get ready. This thing is going to be, like this is going to be an $80 to $100 billion. I think they asked Francois Philippe Champagne if it's going to be $100 billion, and he didn't say no. Might just give him a blank check.
It's quite unusual to hear that sort of language, though, isn't it? As a citizen, I would feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Well, I think they're starting to push back because even these bureaucrats are saying, like, this thing is just out of hand. Like who holds these people accountable?
Well, the Conservative Party, obviously, that is their job. And I think they do it reasonably well, but they can't do it by themselves. They need more. There needs to be more of a more scrutiny from different groups. And the sad reality about Canada, as we've said many times, there just isn't really that kind of pluralism in this country. And so you do get the Conservatives screaming about things, but then there are more people in positions of power, it seems to me, in institutions that dislike the Conservative Party than are willing to sort of give it a hearing. So they just kind of get, like, there was a very it's not the federal Conservatives, but the BC Conservatives, when they pointed out this thing about the comedian speechwriter. Just an example that I'm pulling out of my rear end here, but the headline on the Canadian press is BC Conservatives accuse Eby of spending on comedian speechwriter. It's not an accusation, it's true. And Eby talked about it yesterday, admitted that it is true. But it's kind of, this is what happens. The Conservatives try to hold the establishment, which is usually a left Liberal party, to account, and they don't get any help whatsoever. If anything, the media
runs cover.
Tries to defend.
The media runs cover. That's the sadness of it. That's what I mean. And then they hide documents. We're going to talk about it later. But here's Poilievre also asked about Chrystia Freeland's legacy, because the Liberal machine there was hard at work talking about how, like one of the most powerful people in the Liberal Party there for the past 10 years, and the mess they left, the wake they left behind, how she's done so much serving Canadians. And let's listen into Pierre Poilievre here.
Mr. Poilievre, what will Chrystia Freeland's legacy be, in your view?
That's a good question. I think it was that she resigned rather than introduce a $62 billion deficit. I think she said the Liberals were trying to force her to introduce a deficit of $62 billion. And she said, this is irresponsible, it is out of control, and it will cause massive inflation. And of course, that deficit went ahead anyway, and now it's even bigger. She's probably trying to get out of town and as far away as possible before this disastrous November budget comes. And I don't blame her.
It's a cheeky one. He was thinking quick on his feet there, because he's trying to do maximum damage to the Liberal Party now, as well as respond to that question. So he's trying to basically make Champagne look like an idiot, because what he basically said there was Chrystia Freeland resigned rather than put out a disastrous budget, whereas Champagne in a couple of months is going to put out an even worse one. And
he's going to tell you how he's worked hard for Canadians because Canadians wanted it. I think he's just like a mini Trudeau. But here's a graph that is this 10 years of Liberal policy. Take a look at this. We got that chart there? We don't have it? Can you find it? Can you take a screenshot of it? We're going to put it up here in a second here. There you go. We do have it. See, look at that. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? Who would complain?
What do we have? That's
The
yeah, God, I saw that earlier actually, from Poilievre. This has been going on for ages, hasn't it? And this is very much related to or a cause of the productivity crisis in this country, isn't it?
well, notice when it diverged. Notice anything spectacular there?
Yeah, it's as is often the case.
Imagine that must be policy decisions, no? Because one economy kept chunking along, and the other one not so much, right?
It's quite sad, isn't it? It's actually quite heartbreaking when you look at how closely the two economies had tacked for so long, for so many decades.
And then what is
and then
what
that
is the thing
split
around
occurred.
around 2015? What happened?
Yeah, I mean, we've had this conversation lots of times. It's like such a strange coincidence, isn't it? I mean,
But-
we need to get our best scientists on that to try and
You know, 'cause
investigate
they will
because it just
tell
keeps
you-
happening. 2015 keeps happening.
They will tell you that it was COVID, which is both suffered from COVID. They will tell you that it's the Ukraine war, which both suffered from the Ukraine war. They will tell you a bunch of things and a bunch of nonsense. And no, it's liberal policy. If you've had the wheel for 10 years, when will you take responsibility for your actions? When?
I mean, there are definitely some other things that you could talk about that are harder to solve. But yeah, I mean, when it's such a sudden and obvious divergence, you can only look at policy then, can't you? But I mean, defenders, or not even defenders, but other people will come in and say the US has much better demographics than Canada, way better, and has done for many decades now. Canada's a much older society with many fewer children being born.
Let's be honest,
obviously it's
though.
going to be less rich because of that.
We can
And then
make
there are some
things
other
up, but let's be
questions.
honest, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah,
Like, if you-
but it is important to be honest, I think, and I'm trying to be as honest as possible. There are things. There are definitely other phenomena here at play, but I just think it's the suddenness of that divergence. That kind of split doesn't happen because of long-term trends like demography that have been playing out for decades.
Policy.
That'll be a contributing
Policy.
factor, but the only thing that can do that
is
is
killing,
either something like a meteor hitting your capital city or something like that, or policy.
or climate policies that destroyed the resource sector in Canada.
Or just a mismanaged economy, frankly, and
Yeah.
very strange priorities, which led ultimately, what this is really about here, this graph, is it led the people with money, the monopoly men, to say, I'm not going to spend my money in this country. What's the point? I'm going to spend it in America instead, because then it's safer and I'll get a better return. And we're still living through that now, even though Mark Carney tries to reassure us that everything's
when they spin
very
you,
good now.
maybe everybody should print this out. When you get the spin that we're the strongest economy in the G7, just have a look. Just have a look at that.
And this is, there are so many ways to translate this graph. Obviously, it's about machinery and stuff, but it's productivity and it's also GDP per capita. It all filters through. This is like the kind of foundational chart to try and understand things like that. And if you combine this lack of investment with the gigantic population surge that we experienced the last 5 years or so, you can see, can't you, why GDP per capita is in the sewer right now in this country.
Yeah, and here's like she was one of the most powerful liberals. She's getting appointed as the new special envoy for the reconstruction of Ukraine. I have a question on that. Reconstruction of Ukraine. I thought the war was still going on. Why are we reconstructing anything? Why would you get appointed as the reconstructor of Ukraine when they're still deconstructing Ukraine?
Yeah, you certainly wouldn't want to build a new school or something like that, wherever it is, even in Western Ukraine, and then get it blown up by the Russians.
Isn't it kind of like, just if you just look at it, just on the face of it, it's just like, what?
But I guess it's because they anticipate a conclusion, but that could well be a naive
But why would you
assumption
put that
to
in
make,
there?
couldn't it?
You know, like the envoy for the reconstruction, you know what that is? Money, just bags of money being filtered, and she'll be the person deciding where the money is spent. She's already decided for the last 10 years where Canadian money has been spent, and we're going to get through some of that here in a bit here. We'll talk about some of the money when she was finance minister, how much responsibility she had in some of the things we're going to talk about here in a bit. But here's, Chrystia Freeland to all her neighbors, colleagues. There's her special, a goodbye post there. But she's still serving. Like, she's going to collect that check. She's still getting her MP check. She's not quitting.
She's just, I mean, let's be brutally
cabinet.
honest here. If honesty is the name of the game, this is a sinecure, isn't it? This is going to be way easier than the job that she was doing.
Yeah.
And especially if she steps down as an MP, which she's going to do before the next election. So that could be within 12 months or something like that. It's a very easy transition. She's basically retiring, isn't she? Yeah. To be fair.
And she's going to take the MP salary still. Like, she's just out of cabinet, so she'll lose her cabinet stipend there. But she'll be picking up this special envoy salary, which I'm guaranteed is probably more than she was making in the cabinet. Plus,
and she'll have a load of money on travel and things like that, and she'll be able to do. It'll give her time to write memoirs and whatever else she wants to do, and she'll get to go to the UN and make these big speeches that, with lots of fanfare that ultimately don't mean anything at all. She'll get to kind of join that circuit with a lot of like EU officials who do this for a living as well. They just sort of trot around and say things, make grand statements that aren't really connected to reality. But it's a great status signifier. It's very prestigious, isn't it? It's like, oh, I'm the envoy to Ukraine, don't you know? And it's kind of,
well, you know what it is?
It'll help her with her status rather than being a kind of mid-ranking minister and kind of somebody that's been demoted within cabinet, who used to be finance minister, used to be deputy PM, now does transport and a bit of trade. She's now going to be kind of away from that, and she'll get to feel like a very big dog again. And obviously that's what she wants.
Well, Canada's committed $4 billion, so she'll have that bag of money, and she'll be deciding where it gets spent in Ukraine and which companies benefit from that as well. You know what I mean? Like, if we got to see some of that paper, and they refused to show us where that money is being spent. Remember that? When they were asked where the money is being spent, they said no. So she's going to get
security.
basically a $4 billion bag of cash like Santa Claus, and distribute it where she sees fit. Imagine
and it's a lot better, isn't it, to be gone doing that and flying around and having first-class treatment everywhere, rather than sitting in committees being berated by Dan Albas because of the BC Ferry scandal, which is obviously, if you watched that hearing, she was mortified and hated every second of that and didn't cooperate at all, because clearly that's something that she considers to be beneath her. And now it really is beneath her, and she won't have to do it. She won't have to answer for her mistakes anymore.
And then the big thing is the little scrutiny that the Liberals have taken here in Canada, she won't have any of that, because they'll just say national security issues, and they'll be doling out that Canadian taxpayer dollars like it was raining money. Here's the former president of the Liberal Party. We're going to play a bit of this clip here because it's 3 minutes with Stephen Ledrew here. He was the president of the Liberal Party. Not a big fan anymore. He wants an election.
Okay, guys, I just shot a great video, too, actually, with this guy, Stephen Ledrew. Now, I got to tell you something, because I think his story is really important. You were president of the Liberal Party of Canada.
That's true, for 5 years.
You were
no salary.
Journalist. You have worked extensively with the Liberal Party.
No, wait a second. No, journalists would say I'm not a journalist because I'm a lawyer. Practiced law for years and years.
You were a broadcaster.
Yes, that's true.
Okay. So, you are very critical of the Liberal Party.
Yes.
Why?
Because it's no longer the Liberal Party. It's closer to the NDP party or even the Socialist Party. And the Liberal Party that I grew up with, that I led, was democratic, and it was capitalistic. It had a conscience, but it believed in good government, effective government, government that's not big and not in people's faces all the time and not trying to control everybody. Justin Trudeau debunked the Liberal Party, and what's left of the Liberal Party is powerless over politicians. It used to have an influence on Martin, on Trudeau's father, on the other prime ministers, but the Liberal Party now is completely gutted and doesn't stand for anything except for the remnants of Trudeau's socialistic views, where people just do what the government says.
Okay, so two more
That's good.
questions, and then we got an interview coming out here.
You can go watch that whole clip there with Michelle and Stephen Ledrew. Obviously, he's almost like Dan McTeague there, definitely former Liberals that don't see the party, the Liberal, where I used to believe in the Liberal Party as well, as a centrist organization. It's far from the center of the road. It's all about big government. It's easier to sum up the Liberal Party, in my thinking, as elitism. And it's like a lot of these policies are for the benefit of the few at the expense of the many. And now you can see that in like 89% of Canadians, $200 away from insolvency, record food bank usage, no access to health care, and just on and on and on and on and on. And who benefited? And if we see the few, like these government contracts, like people are living off the taxpayer dollar. And again, for mismanagement of the Canadian tax dollar, Chrystia Freeland just got a $4 billion bag of cash to distribute without scrutiny. Pretty good reward.
But I think what exemplifies what you're talking about there is one of Trudeau's final public appearances as Prime Minister, and you've alluded to it before, where he said something along the lines of, definitely paraphrasing him here, where he said something like, "I know it's hard right now. I know people need food and jobs, but climate is more important." And it's kind of like that summarizes this whole experiment, I think, for the Liberal Party over the last 10 years. It's that there are issues that are just way more important than the basics of governing, like making sure that people are safe and have food and have jobs and all the rest of it. There are much more important things than that, like bringing down emissions, and that sort of trumps everything, or some sort of vague idea about sexism or something like that, or one of the isms, like that trumps
everything,
your sort of concerns about day-to-day life. And I think that is what has alienated people like this chap, and certainly Dan McTeague as well.
I think, one of the things, if you look to the South all the time, a lot of what they do is just like a leading indicator, and it kind of flows up here. The Democratic Party and the Liberal Party are very much the same, especially the Joe Biden administration, what they did to the Democratic Party there too. And but there is a groundswell of people leaving the Liberal Party and mainstream media because of, like some of the ideologies, and now they're starting to see the truth. And I think some people in Canada are starting to see the truth as well, and what they've been told to trade, right? Like ability to put food on the table for this greater cause, which they don't follow, you know what I mean? Trudeau is gallivanting all over the world right now. Chrystia Freeland just got a bag of cash to distribute freely, you know what I mean? Like without scrutiny. It's absolutely horrific. And what they've done to that relationship with the United States so they could win an election. Here's the Washington ambassador here, or the ambassador for Canada here, said that Washington had hoped for a bigger deal, but now they're saying that maybe not with Canada, and like with all this rhetoric. So, but the CUSMA stuff sounds like they're going to start doing that negotiation sooner than later. And the way it is right now, I don't think it's going to be good for Canada.
Yeah, I mean, this is a weird thing that he said here, the ambassador, because if this is true, why wasn't that said originally? And if it was true, if that was the intention of the Trump administration, why did they say all of that silly, nonsense about the 51st state and all the rest of it? Because they must have known that was going to alienate Canadians. But it is interesting nonetheless to read what he says. I mean, I don't know where he's getting this from. I don't know if it's true or not, but he's talking about how it's almost like the way that he seems to be summarizing it. It's a brief discussion, but it almost seems like making a kind of European Union sort of thing, like that kind of kind of closeness, with also like really strong military cooperation, defense cooperation. I mean, if that was ever on the table, that is very interesting to me, and I'm surprised that Donald Trump didn't come out and kind of love bomb Canada and just say, look, using many of the same arguments, like you kind of rely on us for your prosperity, for your material, economic prosperity. You rely on us for your defense. Why don't you come and give us a big hug, and we'll be closer than we used to be, and because we love you so much. That might have been a more interesting way to approach it, and I feel like that would have actually been discussed properly in Canada, rather than what happened in the event, which was just insults and stupid things like that.
Let's talk about how the Liberal government has managed their money for a while. In this one here, they're just getting this. ArriveCan was a while ago, but look, they're still trying to dig through this, and they couldn't get any of these documents when the NDP was there blocking everything. But now that they don't have the NDP kind of like stopping them from digging through records, here we go. So we got Michael Barrett here. Let's listen in.
It is a criminal act if it's intentional.
You launched an investigation into ArriveCan over allegations related to the destruction of records that were subject to the act. Is destroying or deleting records that are subject to access to information requests a breach of the act? And do your preliminary findings suggest that the law was broken in this case?
With respect to ArriveCan, I'm sorry, but I won't be able to talk to you about the investigation. It's still ongoing. This is a very complex investigation, and as you just mentioned, including very serious allegations. So my office, it's part of our priority this year to finalize that investigation, and I will be happy to report on that investigation later this year. With respect to the allegation of destructions, it is a criminal act if it's intentional and if it's meant to remove the information from somebody's accessing it. So I cannot tell you at this point what our findings are with respect to ArriveCan.
So criminal investigations are underway into 9 separate cases of suspected IT fraud billing at federal departments and agencies, the highest figure disclosed to date. A majority referred to the RCMP following a separate 2024 police raid at the offices of the lead ArriveCan contractor. There are 5 cases of suspected invoicing fraud by information technology subcontractors that have been submitted to RCMP since May 2024. Department of Public Works wrote in an inquiry of ministry. These 5 cases, in addition to 4 cases, were submitted prior to 2024. I mean, these are the things that were blocked from access by the NDP and the Liberals. And now, you know, like some of this stuff is coming to light. Imagine if the Conservatives won election, all the stuff that would be coming to light right now. And it's just absolutely appalling here. Most of the investigations launched following RCMP raid on GC Strategy that now blacklisted Woodlawn, Ontario, awarded more than, ready? These are 2 guys in a basement. $92 million. $92 million. That's your taxpayer dollars. $92 million. And they block, and then they, you know, there's now allegations that they were destroying documents. You know, the documents would have to be destroyed on both ends. You know what I mean? Because the one federal government would have been sending the documents, and the other one would be receiving the documents. So that would have been, you know, a conspiracy as well, wouldn't it? If both ends were destroying the documents. I mean, if this was in the United States right now, this would be an all-out investigation. And here we're just kind of pussyfooting around on it, right? And you tell me, Canada, is this okay?
It's definitely right to contrast the response with what would happen in America. And that emphasizes what I said earlier about the lack of pluralism. True pluralism, true scrutiny in this country.
Because if we had a bigger voice, they would get some scrutiny. But I mean, what we have right now is CBC and CTV. They don't even run these stories. Have you seen this in the news? Like, is this a big story? No. If this was Fox News had this, they'd be just ripping the Liberals to shreds for this. Because here's Chrystia Freeland, 10 years. She's the one in charge of our money. She's the one in charge of our money. And what are they doing? She's leaving before they just dump this $100 billion budget on us. And they're giving her a $4 billion bag of cash to distribute. This is her, you know, like this is her legacy. And then here's another one. The Auditor General report exposes massive Liberal contracting failures. 21% of the files had no security clearance. 33% lacked proof of qualifications. 58% no bid contracts, skipped competition. 54% proved deliverables weren't even received.
That's crackers, isn't it? No bid contracts. I mean, what the hell? How do you defend that?
But I mean, where's the media? What's to turn them off and start giving the money to somebody else? But like, look at this. It's absolutely atrocious. And here's remember the one that the Liberals and the NDP trotted out as the biggest thing they did for Canadians, and even the Liberals still trotting out the dental one. You know, the dental care for everybody. Get this, they spent $500 million since 2023 just administering the program. Just administering the program. This is not for dental care. This is for administering the program. $500 million. And then they were told that they should conceal that number, right?
Third-party administrators as well.
Yeah, as of March 31st, 2025, the total administrative cost of delivering the Canadian dental care program, including all payments to third-party administrators, was just under $500 million.
It's bizarre, isn't it? It's like one of those situations where I wonder how hard it actually is to even spend that much money, even if you're trying to.
It's just
how could you actually get that money like out the door? That in itself is a kind of accomplishment, isn't it?
So this next sentence should infuriate Canadians that are struggling to pay their bills. The Department of Finance in 2023 had asked the Budget Office to withhold the public release of administrative costs. We respectfully request that you do not disclose this data publicly or share it outside your organization. Why?
Well, we know the answer, don't we? We know why. But
and
show me the question to ask is, why was it allowed? Why was that permitted?
And show me the CTV and CBC stories on this right now. And Holly Doan's put out a tweet, says, you know, you're better off digging through some of the records than going to all these press conferences and just being a mouthpiece for the Liberals. And asking Pierre Poilievre, will he support this budget? Like it's, you know, like, you know, terrible not to support this budget.
And that will be, inevitably, Pierre Poilievre is going to whip his MPs to vote against the budget. I'd be very, very surprised if anything else transpired. But when he does that, when he does vote against it, I'm sure that he will be pressured in the way that you're suggesting there. I'd be like, why are you trying to sabotage Canada? Like, what are you playing at, Pierre?
I mean, if you look at this, how could you justify $500 million? Do you know how many people are benefiting from this program? It says a total of 1.6 million people have been approved to date, including 1.2 million Canadians, 266. But I mean, like, if you gave me $500 million, I'll take half of that, and I could probably do a better job administering this program. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, it's absolutely. This is for the administration. This is not for the program, people. This is not for the program, for the actual dental cost. This is just for the administration of the program in 2 years. Who's getting the money?
Yeah. We know he's paying for it.
How much did McKinsey & Co. get? Like, I mean, look at this. And then that Sky Canada thing, I'm going to bring that up over and over and over again. That lady it makes $393,000 a year to look out the window. And she has 7 employees to open and close the shades, I guess. I have no idea what she's doing with that money.
Yeah, God knows. Operating her telescope, perhaps.
Well, and then this is just a throwback one. It turns out back in June 6, 2023, the Safety Canada had faked a security bulletin claiming that confirmation Freedom Convoy protesters were damaging federal buildings. There was no such incident.
The dishonesty is, you know, I love what they do at Blacklocks, but it's not good for the psyche, is it? It's so demoralizing.
But if we did more of it, if our media,
absolute rascals rule over us.
If our government-funded media had been doing this all along, it wouldn't be able to get to this festered sore, would it? Like right now, there's so many
argument that you will hear from people like Chrystia Freeland and Rosemary Barton probably, the argument is that daylight is the best disinfectant. And that if we talk about these things, then they won't happen in the future. But I suppose the current state of affairs is these things happen. Holly Dawn is like the lone voice on Twitter talking about it. Nobody else talks about it, and then it just keeps happening forever.
Yeah, because the media, other than us, you know, like we have a small voice, so you could help us. They took away our voice of 200,000 with Bill C-18, and they basically try to cripple media in Canada, and they will continue to fund select media that is basically a parrot for the left. And it's just getting so atrocious. I have no choice but to call a spade a spade. And But on to some British news, and this is why we have a British guy working for us, right? Look at this.
Just for this.
Just for this. We've been waiting for this moment here. But I've not seen, the Brits can do pomp and regalia like nobody can. And here it is. I'm going to let you talk through some of this stuff here because you know this stuff way better than me. You've been there. But this is what do they call the Air Force, the helicopter? It's not Air Force One. But
Marine One.
Marine One, there you go. Marine One landing. They're being greeted. Go ahead, let's play the clip, and you can talk through it.
There's Marine One there. That flew off my house once when I was in London. Very strange to see it in the sky. I think they are those Americans there ready to greet him?
They are Marines. They would on the aircraft. They would have been on the aircraft with him.
That's the Princess of Wales, as she's known. Catherine or Kate Middleton there on the right, and Willie, the future king. Expected to be king rather sooner than later, actually.
They have a good relationship, those two, Trump and you say that Prince William is very tall and Trump looks like similar stature. You had an argument before saying that he wasn't.
Yeah, but then King Charles is not very tall at all, and yet they stand next to each other and they don't really look that different. Maybe Trump just like when he's next to a small dude, he just crouches or something out of respect.
To me, it looks like Trump has lost weight. I don't know. And Melania's got to be the classiest.
Definitely compared to a few years ago.
Melania's got to be one of the classiest, although Kate there looks pretty classy too. Those two ladies are very classy, right?
Yeah, and she had cancer, didn't she, not so long ago, Kate Middleton.
Well, let's go to the next clip.
Quite healthy there.
Let's go to the next clip here. And this is, like the carriage thing, like absolutely unbelievable. I don't never get to ride in a carriage like that. You? You got that clip?
Unless I become the king, maybe.
Look at that, all that. I'm sure that's real gold on there too.
Yeah, I bet Trumpy loves that gold. I'd love to know what they're chatting about in there. Look at the weather though as well. The weather is absolutely garbage, which is, I suppose, it's more honest of England to present that weather.
Let's go to this next one here. We got a few of these clips because it's a pretty big pomp day. Like, I mean, it's pomp goes, it's pretty pomp. Let's go to this next clip here. Piers Morgan, another Brit, talking about this. Let's go.
This obviously were not as obvious as they would normally be because they're in the protective cordon of the Windsor Castle grounds. But, if anything was to go untoward, you've got some of the most elite fighting men in the world there. So, again, you might look at it and think they're just there for ceremony. Actually, they have a lot of talents.
Piers, I know the Royals don't technically get involved with politics, but it's obvious that they're using the authority of the Royals.
Turn the sound off. Well, I guess. Anyway, they go on to say that, Piers Morgan goes on to say, just to stress, I've not seen this done for any other world leader. This is unprecedented. And it was a pretty big deal. They did the Star Spangled Banner as well. Trump saluted the Star Spangled Banner. But the weird one was, and it said that Trump broke some royal traditions. And King Charles walking behind Trump as well, which I found that one odd. But
there's a lot of crap like that. I mean, this has been going on a long time. I'm reading a book right now about the old Achaemenid monarchy in Persia in the sort of 5th century BC. And they used to, people that came to see the king used to have to like crawl on the ground, and then they weren't even allowed to look at them. I mean, this is a little bit more advanced, a little bit more enlightened. But there's a load of rules, and they give it to journalists as well, and I'm familiar with the protocol because I came through in the newsrooms when I was over in England. But obviously, if you're a little pleb, if you're a little peasant such as myself in England, probably you're going to do that because you wouldn't want to break tradition. But if you're President Donald Trump visiting a vassal state, you're visiting one of your sort of servile countries that depends on you. You just do what you want, really, can't you? And I would imagine that that's what it is. It's like I'm not gonna sort of like go along with all this nonsense. Like you are my servant.
Let's play this little postcard. The White House put this piece out, and they just clipped a bunch of things. I mean, the pomp there was like it was almost like the coronation. some Scots in there, eh?
Well, Trump's mother is Scottish, or was Scottish, so I guess
for sure.
give him a taste of that.
Yeah, and there was, I think, a bit more there too. I don't know if you can just keep playing the video there, just turn the sound off there. And
the red arrows, which are like the equivalent of the snowbirds, they also did a flyby. There was supposed to be an F-35 flyby, but I don't think it happened in the end.
They couldn't get it started, or what?
I'm not sure, actually. Yeah,
At the end of that video?
haven't followed up.
Oh, okay, that's good. Anyway, lots of pomp and ceremony, and the Keir Starmer not there as well. It's just the King and Melania and Camilla.
He was there.
Was he?
Yeah, but he wasn't involved in that thing. He was watching, and then when it all finished, he popped along. But the thing is, Keir Starmer's trying to keep out of the way for this one, because this is supposed to be King Charles's day, head of state, and then tomorrow is going to be Keir Starmer's day. So tomorrow will be when you see Keir and Trump, with their strange relationship, having a laugh with each other.
That'll be interesting for sure. But like I said, nobody does pomp and ceremony like the Brits. But they don't roll this out for anybody.
Well, this is the second state visit, which is completely unprecedented for somebody that isn't a king or queen, because obviously kings and queens, they're in power for decades often, so they've had more than one state visit. But for somebody that's elected, like an elected head of state, I'm not sure it's ever happened. But if it has, it's very, very rare to have two state visits, and also different like monarchs. You had Queen Elizabeth last time, and this time Charlie. And I don't know, if Trump's serious about a third term, maybe he'll get another one, and he'll be King William.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff on X this morning talking about how America's back and how America got treated with the royal treatment there. Yeah, so.
Well, there's no doubt America's the foundation stone of the Western Alliance and the world economy. And with Trump, they've started to put up barriers to access to the military, to the economy, and all the rest of it. So the British, just like everyone else, are just trying to figure out a way to escape Trump's vengeance, really, aren't they? And if they can do it with all these red coats, then so be it. I think they're willing to try.
Canada's got a different tack. The Liberal Party would rather stick sticks in the eyes of the giant bear and see what happens.
Well, that's true, but then Carney, for all of his screams, war chants during the election, he's been nothing but friendly and complimentary to Trump, hasn't he? And very very servile in his presence.
Hey, the NDP almost like you know what I mean, not relevant anymore, but they say they're going to make a big comeback here. NDP leader says Mark Carney is governing like a conservative, and they're starting to whine. It says the NDP is positioning itself as a progressive alternative to the Liberals who have shifted to the right under Carney. And Davies said that at a post-election town hall, and he says Carney is governing like a small C conservative. His first 10 of 12 policies are right out of the Liberal or the Conservative playbook. Well, he basically took Pierre's policies, right? But the NDP is not having any of that. But, like the NDP destroyed their party. But he says they're going to rejuvenate and rebuild. And, well, it's yet to be seen, I guess, right?
But he's talking, the thing is, what I find strange is he's talking about rejuvenate and all the rest of it. And then he's talking about going back to progressivism. But I'm just thinking, that's why you did so badly in the election, because you were just another version of the Liberal Party. There's a difference between progressivism and the kind of left-wing politics that the NDP used to represent. It wasn't progressivism per se, was it? It was more trade unionism and that kind of working class leftism, whereas progressivism is basically an ideology of the wealthy and of the bourgeoisie.
BC teacher banned for 15 years after secret late night calls with students. Like, how many stories have we done like this? How many have we done this year?
What's funny is we did this one, but there's another one that was released by, by the disciplinary organization, committee, whatever it is. And it's even worse. It's about a teacher that had child sexual abuse images on his device. I mean, 500 photos and videos of children. This is the other one, believed to be between the ages of 3 and 13. So somehow, this is a terrible one, but the one that we haven't even done yet is even worse.
This teacher and the student made calls to one another over 1,000 times in approximately 16 months, and didn't think there's anything wrong with it. They talked about how they like to slow dance with each other, and they talked about each other's physical appearance and all that. I mean, these are the people. Like, I mean, the sad part is this is not like, you know, like this is the one story we've done in 10 years. This is like, I don't know how many we've done this year. And a 15-year
often
suspension.
it does come to this, doesn't it?
A 15-year suspension. Like, how about never? How about never? Never, ever.
Yeah. But this is what's so strange. Like, there's such a variation, because sometimes it's like a teacher will say something like, I don't know what it is, or he'll sort of like pat a student on the back and say like, "Good shot, Johnny," and then that's like inappropriately touched the child, and then that teacher gets done as well. Whereas these other ones are like, they shouldn't even be in the same category at all. They shouldn't. It's quite absurd, like the situation that some teachers find themselves in. But obviously, this is the real deal, isn't it? And quite
well, we just
worrying.
did one where the grade 8 student, remember, they were talking about 69 position, and then invited her to her home, had dinner, and all these different things, and just like, what is going on? Like, these people.
Yeah, like how it's just, if they thought that they weren't committing committing professional misconduct, as they say, if they thought that, then how did they ever become teachers in the first place? How could they be so ignorant and naive to think that it's okay to do that, you know?
And notice that they never published the name. Why not?
Well, the sad thing is, I was telling you about where they pat them on the back or something and they get done. Usually those ones get their name revealed, but these ones don't, and they say it's because we need to protect the child. We need to protect the child's identity because it's whatever they want to classify this as, this inappropriate behavior. So yeah, like the worst ones, the biggest examples of misbehavior, they're usually anonymous. Yeah.
And now Green, Elizabeth May changed her mind. Remember, she was resigning a while ago, and now she's just like, hey, we're going to get paid. Like, now she's talking about, she said the movement within the Green Party to remove her as leader is inexplicable, since she's already said she wants to step down for the next election, but she wants to stay in power until a new leader can be chosen. So I guess they want to toss her now, right? Take away her microphone.
Yeah, and this guy is saying, we're frankly not confident that she actually intends to step down. It's a crazy thing to say. It's almost like something that you hear in dictatorships, like Egypt or something, when they were trying to get rid of Mubarak, and it's like, we're not sure he's actually going to resign. But it's Elizabeth May.
Quite comical, actually.
I mean, it is comical. She's like comic relief in Canadian politics, I think.
She's the Canadian Elizabeth Warren, just a screecher. Turns out there was a Canadian connection.
American.
Yeah, it turns out there's a Canadian connection to that Charlie Kirk assassination too. This is that Canadian guy that started screaming that he did it, and he said that he did it so that he could distract so that the real shooter could get away.
Is that him? Are you sure that's the Canadian? Because there was a Canadian in Toronto that was accused on social media, but that Canadian had never been to Utah. I don't know about this chap.
Well, I thought that's what I mean. I could be wrong on that, but this guy did say that he was that shooter in the beginning. They were dragging him off there.
Yeah, that's. I think they're two separate men.
I was going to play this, but we're running out of time, so I'm not going to play this. Is they read you can go find them on the X there. They read the text between Charlie Kirk and his partner. And then here's CTV doing their job. Look at this, eh? Notice how the other day when they were doing those headlines and they called Tommy Robinson a far-left activist, and but here they didn't use the quote marks, but here when it's the radical left, they use the quote marks, right? Isn't that amazing?
I guess that's because Trump did say that, but yeah, I mean, they've been coming out with some absolutely cracking headlines. CTV just totally disconnected from reality on this issue specifically.
And I like Caitlin Collins, but she's getting her butt handed to her many times. And Ted Cruz definitely not taking Caitlin Collins left nonsense. Let's play a little clip of this. And this is what we should be getting here in Canada for the CTV and CBCs. But listen to how Ted Cruz gives it back to Caitlin Collins.
Fucking done with the Democratic Party. You guys are psychotic.
No, not that one. Don't play that. No. There's
That's
so
not
much
Caitlin Collins.
That's not Caitlin. It's the wrong link. That's too bad. Because that, you sure it's not there down there somewhere? No? I don't know. You see if you can find it, but we'll, yeah, so they unveiled a flag there at the Utah, just at that, actually at the spot there. We won't play that either, but there's a flag at the University of Utah. Any luck with that clip there? Because it's a really good clip. He's looking for it, though. And then Senator Fetterman came out and said that like the rhetoric that coming from the left has to stop. Because Kamala Harris was the one calling Donald Trump a fascist, and a lot of the like that rhetoric was even here in Canada. Like how many NDP people called Donald Trump a fascist, and Donald Rustad a fascist and Nazi. All of these things that were said about Elon Musk as well. I mean, this is just riling up people that find themselves justified to do things that are absolutely.
What's funny is they're protesting against Donald Trump, obviously, in England, and one of the signs, one of the billboard things that someone's carrying says Donald Trump is a fascist. And it kind of makes you think, some light has been cast on that, hasn't it, since the murder of Charlie Kirk by somebody that clearly thought he was a fascist, or seems to have thought he was a fascist. But it's not enough, is it? It's not. People aren't, or at least some people just aren't going to change. They're going to change their ways. Charlie Angus maybe is one of those people who loves that word fascist, doesn't he?
We got this clip here from Caitlin Collins, so let's play it.
And we don't have a motive yet. We don't know yet. We're waiting. Obviously, we've heard what the governor's had to say, what the FBI director said today.
Come on, we don't have a motive yet.
We know.
We don't have a motive yet.
What's happening with?
Really, that's CNN's position.
I mean, from law enforcement,
he just happened
Senator.
to fire the gun in celebration. You can't tell the motive.
Senator, that's not what I said. And I said law enforcement hasn't laid out a direct motive. They've laid out a lot of evidence here of these messages and what
actually
the
they
shooter
have.
said to
They've said that he was a left-wing
and to
activist who hated
roommates.
Charlie Kirk. Pardon?
Senator, with all due respect, you know exactly what I'm saying. I'm not arguing with you politically. I'm saying that law enforcement has not put a specific motive. You know that there's a difference of what they're putting in a legal argument than what you're talking about. And you're not even we're not even arguing about the facts here.
What you just said is false,
Senator,
Caitlin.
No.
Caitlin. Facts. Hold on a second. Let me answer your statement because what you said is factually
Senator, with
false.
all due respect,
law enforcement.
With all due respect, you're putting a lot of statements
okay, go ahead,
that I did
give your
not
speech.
say. And I want to get back to, we just laid out the facts.
You
in the
just
opening
said
of the
law
show,
enforcement has not made out a motive. That is objectively
and we just spoke to the
false.
Deputy Attorney General.
That is objectively false.
They
what
have not
you were
set a
saying
concrete
is
motive of
objectively
exactly
false,
what it was.
And
They've
CNN
laid out
should
every
not be
evidence that we
engaged
know
in
so far.
misinformation. Caitlin, answer my question.
It's not
Have you seen the
misinformation,
polling
Senator.
that shows the vast majority of
you were
Democrats
taking what I
believe
said
this murderer is a
about
Republican and a
that.
Trump supporter? Have you seen that polling?
Let me get back to my questions, though, Senator, because the question here
You're not going to answer that
was
question?
actually
Are you going to answer
what
that
you were
question?
saying
You
about
have seen that
investigations
polling.
that you'd like to see.
So you're not going to
Senator,
answer the
I'm the
question.
one asking the questions here, and the.
I'm the one asking the questions here. I'm the one determining the narrative here. I'm the one. Good one, Caitlin.
The sad thing is, and it's often the case, she was right, strictly speaking, that this is still a case under investigation and all the rest of it. And Ted Cruz is also right in spirit, because he was saying, I think maybe he would have been better served if he'd said, okay, Caitlin and CNN, it's still under investigation. But that didn't stop you coming up with motives for the killing of George Floyd, for example, or any other politicized killing in recent American history.
Get into that
when
later,
that happens, it's racist, it's whatever it is, it's Trump, it's blah, blah, blah. But because this is one of their own people, so to speak, that's committed this atrocity, this murder. Therefore, it's like, oh well, we don't know. Gee, what could this motive have been? Let's just stick completely to. It's almost like when a union does the, where they just work to rule. It's kind of like, yeah, you can do that in certain circumstances, but if you only do that for certain killings, then it makes you look very dishonest, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then there's a lot of pushback. Like I said, there's a lot more investigation. We're going to go to this Kash Patel thing, and there's a lot more pushback in the United States, a lot more hearings, and at least you get some of the stuff. And we're not getting that here in Canada, or maybe we'll get more of that here with the Conservatives and the Bloc being able to hold the Liberal Party to account. Well, hopefully we'll get some of that. But here's this clip here, an exchange here with Kash Patel and Chuck Schumer. Perhaps.
To believe that? Do you think they're stupid?
No. I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of
you're
inmates.
Not in the weeds?
What I am doing is protecting this country, providing historic reform, and combating the weaponization of intelligence by the likes of you. And we have countlessly proven you to be a liar in Russiagate, in January 6th. You are the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate. You are a disgrace to this institution and an utter coward.
I'm not surprised.
They go off for quite a while, but you don't see that passion here in Canada, right? When you're talking about things.
I'm glad that you don't see that exact thing, like talking over each other. I don't even know how do you talk? Like I try to do it with my son, who is 4 years old. When I'm trying to say something to him, whatever it is, and he just talks over me. It's kind of, and it's really hard to do.
Let's go back then. Let's go back then and just allow if we go back a few stories and tell us about the $497,000 or $497 million or $427 million just to administer the dental care program. Let's go back and talk about the $92 million to GC strategies. You know what I mean? Like, I think we need a little bit more pushback on these things. We need
I completely agree, but I'm not sure we would get that if we had some idiot like Kash Patel shouting over somebody and that other idiot, whoever he is, shouting over Kash Patel. Like that's what we've just seen there contributes nothing to anything, really. That's just food that's bread and circuses for the masses, isn't it? That's not actually anything happening.
Well, we could use some circus here to start calling out some of the fraud and abuse and corruption here in Canada. This is the last couple of stories. Pro-EV groups urge Ottawa to allow more European cars and they say that the China tariffs bit high. I think there's probably going to be a negotiation on the China EV tariffs. They're probably going to cut the EV tariffs a bit, and they're going to get to cut the canola. They're going to find, I mean, that's likely where that's going to end up, in the middle ground somewhere.
It looks like it. They're certainly backtracking, or they're preparing the ground for a backtrack.
Media's doing the work there. And the CRA says that cutting them is going to hurt service and for Canadians. The CRA, the amount of CRA employees per 100,000 is like, it dwarfs what the America has for IRS. It's just crazy. But that's it. That's all we got. We're a little bit over. We're at 10:08. So I think that the main
we'll have to talk about Selena Robinson tomorrow, because Selena Robinson, former member of the BC NDP government, coming out and saying that David Eby has destroyed fiscal responsibility. And
I mean,
that's pretty big, isn't it?
Well, we're supposed to have an interview with the finance minister here. They keep now kind of kicking it down the road. They say Friday maybe. So apparently Brenda Bailey's traveling Wednesday, Thursday. And I've asked yesterday again, because they supposed to have it on the 15th or the 16th, and then they've kicked that down the road. They're good at that. Who wants accountability, right?
Well, fascists, obviously.
Oh, right. There you go. So it's we need accountability. We need more Holly Downs. We need more of us. We need less CTV, less CBC. These people that just go there and pump the tires and don't ask tough questions. Like that question. I know that you're making an excuse and say like the reporter, don't forget, is always there. is part of the parliamentary gallery that gets to go there every day. And you're saying she just had a brain fart. I would say, like, not so much. Like, if you look back at their patterns, they're just asking for support, and they're trying to find a way to weaponize Pierre Poilievre as like, and not providing support when, you know, Canada's in this tough spot and it needs the this budget. Does it? Why don't we have a look at what's inside the budget? Why don't we have a little peek? Can Pierre Poilievre actually see the budget before he has to rubber stamp it? What do you think?
Maybe he'll get 5 minutes with it.
What if your wife came to you and said, I need $100,000, and you said, what for? And she's like, why are you asking questions? I need it.
What are you, far right?
Yeah, just like you some kind of fascist or something? Yeah. 400, what was the number? Like, we should get that number. Like, how much? 427?
400 and something, yeah.
Let's find that. Just for administering the program. It would be nice to find out, like, who got the money, like, and what, like, you know, itemized list of which companies got the money. Yeah, like which companies got the money, and what did we get for it? I don't know.
That'd be nice to know.
Wouldn't it? I'm just gonna find it here, just so I don't get this number wrong here. It's nearly $500 million. So 400. Hey, ready? 472 million. 0.9. So $473 million. They should have just took the extra.
$500 million.
They should have just took the extra 250, or, you know, like 25 million and called it $500 million, right? Did somebody forget to take the last little bit out of the till, or what?
Maybe they literally just couldn't find anyone to give it to. And they were like, I've tried all week, can't find anything.
The bank won't take any for us, take any more money from us. So, well, good news for British Columbians in that you go to the gas pump, get a full tank of gas here. Well, the prices are lower, and apparently it's supposed to get lower.
Well, you still can.
Well, before they determine that they're going to put on some more taxes on there, because, you know, like, they don't want you driving around too much. So, because there was a big hole in the BC budget there. What was it? Billions of dollars there from the no carbon tax. Eh? That apparently, that's the question I want to ask Brendan Bale. I thought we were giving that all back to the people. Why are you counting as a loss of revenue?
Yeah, and also it was kind of the whole situation about, they tried to kind of make hay from that, didn't they, politically? But now it's also a disaster or something, and they were forced to do it. But I mean, they just want it both ways, really, don't they?
Never take any responsibility. I mean, Chrystia Freeland, at least should be honest and say, you know, I made some mistakes. At least say that. I made some mistakes. Cost, you know, Canadians billions and billions of dollars. But hey, I get to be Santa Claus. She likes wearing red as well. So she's going to get a sack of cash, and she's going to hop off to Ukraine. They love to celebrate Christmas over there as well.
That's on a different day, but although actually they changed it, didn't they? I think they changed it to align with the Western Christmas to try and spite the Russians. So yeah, she'll be celebrating Christmas.
And they got those cool eggs, right? These ones will be filled with gold.
Yeah.
Anyway. That's our show for today. We're back tomorrow morning, Thursday morning at 9 a.m. You can watch this show. You can share it. You can do all those things. I'm sure there's going to be lots of pomp and ceremony there with King Charles and President Trump today, too, as well. Cheers. Have a great day.
We don't just report the news. We live here, too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding,